Hello friends, it's Lisa. Welcome back to another Thinking Outside the Box Thursday. This is number 4, episode 4. It's so exciting. And today we're creating some stained glass cards. This is a little bit longer of a video. I've been trying to keep my videos at about 15 to 20 minutes. This one's almost 30, but it's because I try this technique 3 different ways. So I'm using my stamp positioning tool and I have 2 different stamps. The first stamp, this red rubber stamp, is from La La Land Crafts and it is a stained glass background. Now I'm taking some Versamark ink and I'm going to emboss this, but not until I stamp both images. So the stained glass background is going to make any stamp look like a stained glass image of that stamp. And you'll see that in just a second. But since I have this on my stamp positioner from We Are Memory Keepers, I can re-stamp to make sure I got a good image. And sometimes with these background stamps, you have to you have to stamp it twice. So that's why it's so important to have a stamp positioner. Next, the reason I also really like the We Are Memory Keepers tool is because you can get more than one top. So here I'm using 2 different ones. And I don't have to move that other stamp that I'm going to use a couple more times to put this second stamp on. This stamp is from Gina K. I just got a big haul from them, and I had thought this stamp was going to be a little bit bigger when I bought it, but it's really perfectly sized for card making. It's just a little smaller than I expected. These stamps are also from Gina K, and they're really cute. I thought it'd be perfect for a stained glass technique, so I'm doing the same exact thing, stamping with Versamark, and I'm stamping both images with the Versamark, and then I pour on my clear embossing powder, which I am so close to being out of, so I need to go get some more, but I haven't decided what brand to get yet. So I don't want to buy like 5 different brands, but I'm also not sure which is the best brand. So if you have any helpful hints on that, which clear embossing powder you like the best, let me know in the comments because I definitely want to know. Next, I'm also stamping 2 panels with these super cute Cartabella Fishes stamp sets. I thought they have a thicker outline, which I think will show up better with the thicker outline of the stained glass stamp. Also, they have kind of the lines, the flowiness. So on all of them, I stamped the background and then I stamped the other image. Then I poured the clear embossing ink on. Since it's a pigment ink that I'm using, the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, it stays wet long enough for you to stamp both of those and then put the embossing powder on with no problem. I got my heat gun out and then heated all 4 of these, just one after the other. It takes a few minutes, but it's not bad at all, especially if you have the industrial heat gun like I have, because it heats up really fast, even on the lower setting. So it's really quick, and I just heat embossed all 4 of those really quick. All 4 of them, I'm doing a slightly different technique. So this first one, I'm using the Cosmic Shimmer Glimmer Kiss, which is basically just glitter suspended in kind of a glue. So you put it down once, going one way. So say from left to right. You let that dry for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then you go bottom or top to bottom. Let that dry for about a minute. Go from right to left, or whichever way you haven't gone before, and you just go all around until you get that really well coated. You have to let the first coat dry for a couple minutes, and then it just holds all the other layers really well. And then I set that aside to dry. Next, I'm taking the Gina K Glitz glitter, and this is a lot thicker than the Cosmic Shimmer. So it's not quite the same. I've found that this paste worked the least well of the three that I tried. But I think there are a lot of cool things you can do with it in other instances. So I think that when you're creating a stained glass effect, I would go with the Cosmic Shimmer in what I just used, which was the Glimmer Kiss, or the Pearlescent that I use in just a minute. For the stained glass technique, but I think that creating like a background with this, and then I use alcohol ink on it, surprise. You'll see that in a minute, but I use alcohol ink on the Gina K stuff that I'm putting down here, and you can see it's just so thick I had to start using my finger to actually move it around, and you lose some of the definition that you don't have that issue with the two Cosmic Shimmers. But if you put this down on the background of a card and then use the alcohol ink over it, I think you could make some really cool night skies, sunsets, sunrises. It would just be really, really fun backgrounds you could create by alcohol inking over, because I liked the alcohol ink on top of this. I forget what it's called. Glitz Glitter Gel. Yes, the Gina K Glitz Glitter Gel. There's a lot of G's, and that's what it is. But using the alcohol ink over it was a lot of really cool looks. But the stained glass technique just wasn't where the glitz glitter gel really shone. So, oh my gosh, that's so confusing. There's a lot of G's, and it's just a little hard to say multiple times. Moving on, we're putting the Pearl Cosmic Shimmer, and this is just in the pearl color, over top of the Gina K flower image. Next, I'm just cleaning up so that we can move on to the next step. You'll notice that for one of the fish, I did not put anything on it. So we'll see that in a little bit. I wanted to have a control group, I guess you could say. So here I'm just using a water brush, which was a mistake, because I kind of ruined that brush. So definitely use a really cheap brush when you're moving this alcohol ink around, because it will ruin your brush. So you want to use some cheap. And I'm just putting down some green here at the bottom. You have enough control to kind of go around the flower, but you don't have a lot of control. You can see how cool even just a few drops of that alcohol ink on top of the Gina K Glitz Glitter Gel is. And I just go through and paint that on one color at a time. The cool thing about stained glass is you get a lot of different colored pieces next to each other. And when you're looking at it up close, it's hard to tell what it is. But when you're looking at it far away, you say, oh, obviously that's XYZ. And I think that's really what I wanted to capture here, is putting a lot of different gradients and colors in. So here I added this really dark color, which kind of overtook the lighter blue that I was using. So I just dabbed that off before it dried, and it took most of the color off, and I added the first blue back in. But I do take the darker color and splatter just a little bit onto my glass mat and pick it up with my water brush and add it back down. Adding a little bit of the water helps you to move the alcohol ink around, but you could also use the isopropyl alcohol or the Tim Holtz blending solution as a water substitute. I had no problems with the water. It's a lot cheaper too, so I just use that. Next, I'm going to add a little bit more color into the green, and then I'll start on the flowers. So here I'm adding the stem, and I wish I added the stem to the two other flowers. I think that would have kind of completed the look. But all in all, it still turned out really cool card and something really fun to send to anybody. I think that there's a lot cooler techniques you can use this Glitz glitter gel for though. But definitely using it as a background with alcohol and ink is one of the really cool techniques you can do. I'm adding the orange into the center of this flower as well. And if you watched my Think Outside the Box Thursday video last week, you could totally apply what I'm doing here to that video and creating some really cool dimensional elements using this glitter gel. So you can see I'm now adding some kind of leaf-like textures to that rose. And I'm just trying to give the illusion of greenery. I'm not trying to make perfect leaves. But the green did kind of push the red up further than I wanted. So I went in with my towel, dabbed that off a little bit, added the red back in. Next, I'm going to take some pink and add it to that last flower. I really liked how I had the cool colors in the background and warmer colors in the foreground. It helps to differentiate, especially on this panel where the Glitz gel has made it a little bit difficult to differentiate some of those lines. That having the cooler tones in the back and the warmer tones up front helps your eye kind of determine what's going on. Next, we're moving on to that rose, and if you remember, this has the Cosmic Shimmer Pearl gilding paste over top of it. I'm coloring the image in with some Pitt pens. So I'm putting down this lighter red kind of pink color over the roses. Then I'm going to come in with the full red and just color in the deep part of the petals. So, and then flicking with my finger out. That gives a little bit of darkness, a little bit of dimension without being too much. There's a lot going on with all the different lines here, so you don't want to do too much, but you do need to add a little bit of dimension with that. Once the pearl gilding polish was completely dry, it did not harm my markers at all. I personally wouldn't use my Copic markers on these. I don't know what that would do. it's a different ink formulation, and they cost a lot more than the Pitt markers do. So I didn't try that and I wouldn't suggest it. But using the Pitt markers once that was fully dry absolutely did nothing to harm these markers. So no markers were harmed during the filming of this video. And I just colored each of those little shapes in. Once I got the flowers and the leaves fully colored, I decided to create kind of a halo effect. So with this lightest color, I did the centers and colored at least one little shape out from the whole image. Then I filled in some random shapes in the background as well. Next, I'm going to take the medium blue, and I use teal colors for all of this, but I used the medium teal color, created another round of halos, and filled in more of the background. This really centers your eye on that focal point, which is the flowers, but it also gives that awesome stained glass look where you have different colored tiles in different places. Next, I filled in with my second darkest teal color the entire rest of the panel. So I still have that halo, but I also have a lot of darker tiles near the top. I'm going to come back in with an even darker color, but I'm not going to create another halo. I felt like I had 3 halos and that was enough, but I would just come in, especially around the edges, with some of this darker color because there was too much of that dark blue, but I didn't want any more of the light blue. So adding the darker blue just gives a little bit more interest to the background. And that about finishes this card. Next, we're going to move on to the Cosmic Shimmer Kiss card, where we have the iridescent glitter over top of the stamped image. On this card, I am using liquid watercolor. I was really unsure if this was going to work, if that it would actually ever dry, or if it did dry, it wouldn't just wipe off. But actually, I had no problem with the liquid watercolor. As soon as it dried, it stuck to the paper. It did tint the liquid kiss or the Cosmic Shimmer Kiss whatever that I'd put down, but you could still see the sparkle through. So I've just added a teal color to the background, and now I'm adding a darker teal to the bottom, so it looks like these 2 little fishies are swimming down into the darkness. They're perfect little goldfish, so that is the colors I'm going to use, and you'll see that in just a second. But I tried to create some different colors in that background. I tried to get some different tones so that we could get the stained glass look. I do really like how these fish look with the stained glass technique, and I think that they're super fun. So I'm taking some lighter orange, I believe this is from Avriel, and then I'll take the deeper orange, which is from Pink Fresh Studios, and add some low lights and some shadows in over top of that fish. It looks really cute, and it's a very orange goldfish. On the second fish, I do the exact same thing, except for I put a layer of light cherry Avery Elle liquid watercolor on first, which gives it more of a richer gold feel than an orange feel. So that's just a helpful hint. If you want to create something that looks more gold, you want to put a light layer of red down first. It just gives it that richness that gold really has. And I loved that I had two different goldfish. They both look like goldfish, but they look like two different goldfish. So it looks like a little girl goldfish and a little boy goldfish swimming together. They're so cute. And it's just so much fun. So you'll see there, I finished coloring the left-hand one, which was more gold, and now I'm pulling in that red. You might be saying, Lisa, you just said to put a little bit of red on, and now you're adding a ton. Don't worry, I'm going to blot this up with my microfiber towel, and it's going to take off quite a bit of that red, because it is a lot of red, and that might have been too much. It would have been a very dark gold in that case. But by blotting it up, I can take just a little bit of that red off, and I get a much richer orange gold. It's going to take a minute. Once it dries, you'll definitely be able to see that. That's one thing to note. A lot of times when glitter is wet, it doesn't look very shiny, but when it does dry, it dries back to you get a lot of glitter. So here you can't actually tell that there's very much glitter, but trust me, there is. There's a lot of glitter going on. And when I tilt it a little bit, you can see that a lot better. So that one is done, and we're going to move on to the very last card, which is the control card that didn't have any additional top coat. It's just the stamp on watercolor cardstock. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I stamped everything on watercolor cardstock. Here I'm doing the same exact thing where I painted the red down first, then I'm adding the orange over top. So I put the red, then I put the darker areas, shadows, lowlights, however you want to say that, and then I added the light orange to some of the mid-tone areas and really gave that goldfish a three-toned effect. It looks so cute. But for this goldfish, I'm going to go back and not add that red in so that it does look a different color. You also get that little girl goldfish, little boy goldfish look going on. I apologize for my scarf getting in there. My downstairs gets a little chilly, and so I have a scarf that I put on when I get cold. Next, we're going to move on to the background, and I'm going to do this in a very similar style to the one you just saw, except for this one, I am going with the darkest color, then I go up to the lightest color, and then I add a mid-tone. So here, I'm just pulling that dark color up as much as I can. Then I'm going to add a lighter color and pull it down. I felt like I needed a mid-tone. Looking at it now, I'm not sure that I did. I probably could have just added a little bit more of that darker color, or even just left it like that. I think that looks really cute. The mid-tone is a little bit more blue-green and didn't really merge well between the darker and lighter color, but it still looks really good. It was a lot of fun. I did not add any glitter to this. I think I could have used one of my spray glitters to add some glitter over top, and it would have been really fun that way too. I just think of stained glass as such a shiny, sparkly surface. So here is the Gina K Glitz Glimmer Gel card. And then we're going to move to the Roses card with the Cosmic Shimmer Pearl. You'll see I really simply finish these off by using a stitched oval die in the middle of a A2 size card, positioned the fish behind it. I did use some fun foam in between those two layers, glued everything up, and added just a little hello sentiments with some Avery Elle banner dies. It was really simple, and it really lets the stained glass look stand out. So all in all, here are the final 4 cards. I hope you have enjoyed. Here are some videos you might be interested in. Get ready, because really soon I'm going to have a giveaway. So if you're not subscribed, you're going to want to do that so you don't miss it. And I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Bye.